Hello, my name is Nick Pope, formerly from the British UFO Desk, and you're listening to the Galactic Family Podcast.
Hello, how's everyone doing in the Galactic Family Podcast world tonight? In this illuminating episode of the Galactic Family Podcast, we welcome two extraordinary healers and teachers, Jennifer and Tanys, for a journey into multidimensional healing, ancient wisdom, and cosmic remembrance. Jennifer is a registered psychotherapist, certified Canadian Counsellor, and Galactic Ambassador. She weaves evidence-based therapy with sacred spiritual practices to guide souls back to their divine blueprint. Tanys, a Celtic Shamanic High Priestess, Reiki Master, and founder of the Twillow Lifestyle Academy, empowers others to awaken their spiritual gifts and live in alignment with their higher purpose. Together, they share profound insights on bridging traditional metaphysical worlds, working with energy and consciousness, and embracing the path of self-discovery from the Akashic realms to the shamanic traditions. This conversation will inspire you to walk and maybe take a journey on your own pathway. Tune in, open your heart, and step into the frequency of awakening. We will now call them onto the stage. How are you doing, ladies?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. So just to start off, for those meeting you for the first time, can each of you share a little bit about your personal journey?
Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead, Jen.
You sure? You can go first. I can go first. Doesn't matter. Personal journey, where to start? So when I was in when
I was 2
lifetime.
Let's not go to band camp though.
Okay.
We'll do personal journey this lifetime.
Yeah.
Keep it. So I my personal journey started at a very, very young age. Being able to see things, hear things, experience things, so much so that I kind of shut down to all of it and said, no, I don't want any of this as a child. It was way too scary. But I did know that there was so much more. And so that led me on a spiritual journey of finding out what that more was. And so it started off with, going to a youth group and trying to figure out through different, pathways that were more specific to religion. And then that developed out into a greater spirituality. And so for me, I come from a very kind of eclectic background that has kind of looked into all different avenues to understand more about what it is, why we're here and our purpose and what that looks like. And so being able to tap into other lifetimes has shed a lot of light on my purpose now, which has been a beautiful unfolding for me. So when we talk about journey and why I said I'll start in this lifetime, is really because, and I'm sure we'll talk about this a little bit more, but there's another lifetime that Tanys and I had together that is very influential in this lifetime, and that energy is very present in this lifetime. And so it's really fascinating when I think back about telling my journey, and I can actually see parallels in different ways to that lifetime as well.
Okay.
And so it's, that's
wonderful.
where I was. Go ahead, Tanys.
Yeah. So I had some experiences when I was really young that I really decided, yeah, we're going to close that off. So it's some good ones, but there was a couple that were a little bit heavier. So I kind of went scared, right? As you do when you're little, and you're like, yeah, we're not looking at that. Yeah. So I kind of closed things down until later in my career. Actually, I spent 20 some years in home healthcare. From the field, and where it started in the field and worked up into management and all of that. And then, got redirected by spirit, as we often do. And this was truly guided for me. I was out one day and was told, like, go into that office. And it was the employment office at that point. And I asked about a program and was like, okay, let's do that. I didn't know what I was doing, but the guides told me to do it. So I started and jumped in. I'm actually an HR consultant. That's the one I started first. And then had started that business, was working through that. I still have that one. And partway through that, I had a big download about spirituality in the workplace and how you can do both. Because I wasn't really, by this time I was already like Reiki Master and stepping into some of those things, but I hadn't really come out of the spiritual closet, so to speak, right? And then I had this big download about spirituality in the workplace, kind of stepped out of that spiritual closet and went, okay, this is who I am. I am both of these things, the HR consultant and the Reiki Master, energy healer, all that stuff. And so I started the Twillow Lifestyle community as well. And then COVID launched the school. So that was fun. But, like Jen said, and if we're talking Galactic mostly, that journey started for me a little before that, because I actually woke up having a healing that I actually was very physical for me from the Galactics. I had been having pain in one of my chest here and, did the usual, call the doctor, get a mammogram scheduled and all that. Before I could go for the mammogram, I woke up one night feeling like a vacuum feeling on my chest, and my eyes opened and there was a galactic being standing beside me who looked shocked that my eyes were open. I looked shocked that he was there. And next thing I knew, I was back to sleep, which was no accident, because, I was put back to sleep.
Wow.
And I never had pain after that. I had been having pain like very regularly. And that night, after that night, I didn't have any pain. There was nothing on the mammogram. And so I was like, all right. And I kind of put that behind. That was like before I jumped into this coming out of the closet, coming out of my son.
It helped you a little bit, like from the scary experiences. Now you're having a good experience.
Absolutely. No, I didn't quite understand it, but because I was already doing like some energy healing at that time, I thought, oh, okay, this is interesting. Mm-hmm. And then my path led me to the Alliance for Extraterrestrial Diplomatic Contact. And I've been an ambassador, Galactic Ambassador with them for almost 4 years now, I guess. And in the middle of all of that, between those, I ended up having this huge thing with the Galactic Federation, and ended up being like, cool, I was a Galactic Ambassador with them as well. So yeah, so that's kind of my journey as it lends itself to this podcast. And Jen and I have had many lifetimes together, and this particular one that she's referring to has been, I had visions of this lifetime that she's referring to before we even talked about it, before she and I talked about it, as she did. So when we started talking about it, they all kind of came back to both of us.
It just came flooding in.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's been fun.
Wow. So, Jennifer, how did you first begin integrating psychotherapy with multidimensional healing?
Yeah, great question.
With a little bit of nudge.
with a little bit of a galactic nudge.
Yes.
So as I'm sure you're aware, like in the field of psychotherapy, it's very regulated. It's very much like you need to be kind of by the book. Yeah. And I am anything but by the book. That being said, I put out there right off the bat, if you look at my website or if you go through any of my stuff, that I work from a spiritual foundation. And so I express that. And if clients are interested, they can say, hey, I want to dive into this with a spiritual lens. And then the doors are wide open. It's really about meeting the clients where they're at. So when we talk about this multidimensional healing, we do realize that what we're dealing with in today's world is not just a product of today's world. So the things that we struggle through, even traumas in our experience, we're genetically encoded with not just right here, right now, but with all of the lifetimes that we've been through, as well as all of the generational stuff that we carry forward. So when we're talking about multidimensional healing, we're looking at true holistic healing.
Okay.
And so that's what I mean when I talk about bringing that into the picture. And so it's really interesting because I'll have clients come in and they're not interested in the spiritual side of it, but they do kind of, they recognize generational trauma. Okay, cool. So we might not talk about the morphogenetic field, but we are going to talk about what your grandmom did to your mom, to you, and how that comes through the line.
Yeah.
Right? Or people might say, I have this fear that comes up and I don't understand where it's coming from. There's nothing in my life that has ever made me fearful of this. Okay, so what are we looking at here? And so having clients just feel into it. What comes to mind for you? We start to work on other dimensions, and that might be past life stuff. It might be something that's actually happening in an astral for us. All of these different planes of existence that we operate on. And sometimes it's really just simply what comes to mind in this moment.
Okay.
Oh, well, actually, I'm, seeing myself here doing this thing and having this happen. Okay, let's just work on that. Right? And we end up doing potentially past life healings or things like that without even calling it that.
Okay. All right. Tanys, what was the original vision for Twillow Lifestyle Community, and how has it evolved from the beginning?
So Twillow was really supposed to be, it started off just me. Again, very guided by spirit. It was like, they're like, okay, Twillow Lifestyle Community. I'm like, community? It's just me in my basement. What is that? What's going on with that? And it just evolved from there. So started doing more teaching and, creating a community of people. That included practitioners. And as that practitioner list grew, we started doing more and more teaching. And so we stepped into, so during COVID, there was a time where I had, of course, I'm a lifelong learner. I'm always doing my own learning too. So I had done a whole bunch of learning and stuff with different groups and stuff. And during COVID, I had like 3 people come to me and say, will you mentor me? I want to be like you. I want to do what you're doing. And I'm like, okay, I don't quite know what that looks like. So, I tuned into spirit. I was like, okay, tell me what to do. Cause I don't know.
Yeah.
What am I doing? And they're like, you're going to start a school. I'm like, again, me in my basement, I'm starting a school. And they're like, yes, start a school. And I'm like, okay. And next thing I knew, I had all these beautiful practitioners coming in saying, yeah, I want to teach there. And I want to do that. And so we started to form a community, and it's just grown from there. So originally it was just an idea, and we've now grown to quite a great group. We've got a bunch that are going through programs right now. We have 5 active programs at the moment. There's another one or 2 of them that are in development as well to add to that. And so really trying to create a community of people that support each other with love, compassion. Those are my big guiding posts. And, give people that safe space to just be spiritual, because many times people come to me and they don't have that space where they can have those kind of deep conversations about the meaning of life or the spiritual realms, and yet they've had experiences with it themselves and they don't know who to talk to or anything. And so this is really about creating that space. And, Jen and I ended up starting Twillow Talk kind of for the same reason. So we have a podcast, Twillow Talk, that's on every Monday. And we really just started that because she and I were having these deep conversations. We're like, we should just, go and get some input. And so we started with a little bit of a nudge. We were like, okay, here we go. We're just going to go live because it's all about authentic conversation. And we're like, okay, let's do this. And so we kind of jumped in. It is. Yeah. And we've learned to really love it. We love the interaction and all of that because that is community. That's where Twillow Lifestyle comes from.
Yeah.
And the name itself, T Willow, of course, T is for Tanys. And the willow, I had a beautiful, two things. I had a beautiful willow tree when I was young. I was 4 or 5 years old. And we had this beautiful willow tree in the backyard that was just magical for me. And as I came to picking a name, it was like, okay, well, the willow is seen as a tree of knowledge and it has all these healing properties. And so I named my HR company as Twillow Consulting. So bringing healing knowledge to organizations is the premise for that. And that's like putting human back in human resources. And then for Twillow Lifestyle, it became Twillow Lifestyle Community because it was TLC. So get your TLC with TLC, right?
Yep.
So
That's
it
perfect.
just evolved, right? And then it went from bringing healing knowledge to organizations to bringing healing knowledge to individuals and groups. So that's kind of where it all started from.
That's beautiful. So with we'll go for Jennifer first. Was there challenges in gaining credibility in both traditional and the spiritual worlds?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, in the traditional world, bringing the spiritual in is not always accepted. And so I definitely had people kind of going, what are you doing and why are you bringing that in? For me, it was a little bit easier because I'm also an ordained minister. So I have that spiritual background and I can do spiritual counseling, and I've done that for a long time. And so I have a history of working in mental health. I actually started working in the field back in 2000. I feel like I've been in this field for quite a while.
Quarter of a century, Jen.
Yeah.
There you go.
But I found too, even just saying that and people going like, how have you been in this like for 25 years? Like, and I have to explain to people that I'm a bit older than I look. That being said, it really did, for me, I started off not including all of the spiritual when I first began to build my practice because I was worried about that. I was worried about people taking me seriously. And so I originally had kind of removed a lot of that from my practice. And it's been very slow and steady, but as Tana says, with lots of nudging that I've added it back. And the way that I kind of started to add it back is there was a time many years ago where in Canada, where we are in Ontario specifically, like CRPO had wanted to take Reiki under its wing, and it wanted to incorporate that in psychotherapy and to be regulated through psychotherapy. And of course, there's a big uproar because there's a lot of people who are not psychotherapists that do energy work. And I think it's important that we all do the energy work. And so that fell through, but it really opened the door because here we go. Here's the organization itself saying, this is valid and we want to include it. And so I took that as my green light to go ahead and bring that into my practice. And then very slowly I added different aspects, just one by one here and there. And that, actually for me, it helped me niche my practice. And that's helped it to grow, which has been a wonderful experience.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That being said, I have to admit that this most recent project, this book about this Lyran lifetime was really going out on a limb for me.
It's a good book.
I love it. I
book.
love, what has come from it. I love, so many aspects of it. But it was that credibility piece that you're talking about, Jay, where I said, okay, if I put myself out there writing this book, at one point I remember even messaging to Tanys and going, should I be using like a pen name or something for this? Because that credibility piece, that's a valid question.
It is. It's like,
is.
dude, are people going to treat me seriously? Yes. I mean,
or differently,
100%.
And
Yes.
what does that look like?
But I will say one thing. When I got back from Iraq and before I retired from the Army, they had us go through a 2-week, reacclimation to civilized life. And I went through Reiki, and that was the most helpful. Reiki, acupuncture, things like that really helped me when I got back.
Yeah, for sure.
So, same question for you, Tanys. If was there challenges like gaining that credibility in the beginning? Like you're a person that's not going to judge people. Come to me, you can talk to me, you can ask me questions. I'm not going to judge. Was that hard to get people to come?
Yeah, I mean, I did all the beginning of business stuff. I was part of the Ontario Self-Employment Benefit Program when I first started, which was a godsend for me because I didn't know what it was like. It was furthest thing from my mind until Spirit said, go here to start my own business. So it was a big switch for me. But this program really gave me like a big, they gave an overview of all sort of bits and pieces of the business. Still had a huge learning curve, but it really helped to support me during that first part of starting the business. Now I started the HR business with them, and I mentioned earlier how I had this download of info. So maybe I'll elaborate on that a little bit. So the download came one morning. So I am not a morning person. This download came in at 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning.
Oh no.
And they wouldn't let me go back to sleep. And I was like, seriously, it's 7 a.m. Can we not do this later? And they're like, no, now. And I'm like,
oh God.
So I had to get up and I went down to my computer and I wrote this whole article about spirituality in the workplace. And I was like, okay, so my HR hat is going, you can't talk about spirituality in the workplace. And they're going, and they're saying to me, you can talk about spirituality. You can't talk about religion in the workplace. And I'm like, okay, so we have a separation here. There's a difference, fair. So I wrote this whole thing. It was just a channeled message, an article. It's been published in a few things. And then I ended up that afternoon, I went back to bed, by the way. And then I got up in the afternoon and I went off to a friend's place for tea. And I didn't tell her anything about the morning because it was like, well, whatever, And I go to leave her place and she's like, oh, I have a book for you. She's intuitive too, right? She gives me The Idiot's Guide to Spirituality in the Workplace. And I'm like, seriously, we're name calling already? Like you just gave it to me this morning.
If that's not just a in-your-face answer right there, like
exactly. I'm like, all right, dudes, chill, man. I'll read the book. So I flipped through the book, right, for the week. And because I was in this OSEB program, I had to have like a site visit. So they wanted to make sure I had everything in order and was doing everything. So of course, I'm the business manager. I've got my KPI reports, my processes are all written out for my HR, my intake forms and all that. So I have all of that out. She comes in and she sits down. She goes, what are you going to do if you're not making enough money by the end of the program? I'm like, oh crap. I'm going to have to tell her I do Reiki. I'm like, do Reiki too? She said, that's perfect. That's your differentiator, spirituality in the workplace. I just about fell off my chair. I'm like, seriously, did you just say that? So there was some kind of and during the first sort of couple of months of my HR stuff, I had a couple of clients that were not, they weren't like open. You know what I mean? Like they were much more like, I affectionately call them muggles. right?
Muggles.
Very not into spirituality, did not accept they very scientific and
Okay.
not, anyway, just, it was fine, did the work, but it was not that harmonious synchronicity sort of feeling with them. It was great, and I'm grateful for all of that. But it did show me that, okay, that's not that comfortable. Are those actually the clients that I want to be doing? I really should just be me in all aspects and see what happens. And so with all of this stuff about spirituality in the workplace, I just kind of stepped into, okay, here we go. I'm going to, because I can be good at both things.
Yeah.
Right. So it was a shift in me too, because it was like, I'm going to do both of these. Okay. And I had been out doing like 90 hours of networking in the city and all of that with the HR. And so all of a sudden here I am saying, oh yeah, by the way, I do this too. And anyway, it was a leap for me and for everybody else. I was also I joined a business networking institute at the time, which was, you go there every week and you have breakfast, and each week you have to, or each quarter you have to get up and speak about your business. Well, there had been an HR person. So I joined with Reiki. And at that time it was more Reiki than anything else. And I got up one day, did my speech. This was funny. So it was in a room of like plumbers and construction guys and app people and all of this, right? One of them gets up and he goes, well, thank you for your talk. I still don't understand what you do. I think it might be black magic, but thanks. So at the end of every,
Wow.
So you want to talk about getting into how uncomfortable it could be.
Right. Oh, you're doing black magic. What?
Yeah. So at the end of each one, you have to give a gift, right? So I was giving a free Reiki session for the draw. Well, didn't this guy win the draw?
What?
It took me a couple of times to get him here. I sat him down. I said, okay, this is the difference between black magic and white magic. There ain't no black magic here, honey. So,
yeah.
And then I gave him Reiki, and he came back the next week and he said, well, I still don't really understand everything she does, but it should be illegal to feel that good.
What?
And I went,
wow. Nice.
Yeah, my job is done. And he did that in front of all these other guys. And so this is how I started to build credibility in both worlds, right? Because I was already doing clients in the HR. So when I stepped in, but I have to tell you, when you step in and start being authentic like that, both businesses took off. Because you're more in touch with who you are. And so, like Jen, I was worried about my organization. I'm a registered professional. I've, taken the exams and all of that stuff. But I was like, well, I just know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So I'm just going to step into it. So, yeah. So, for me, it was networking. That's how I started. And then it just became word of mouth.
That's awesome.
So
with so Jennifer, how do you approach skeptical clients on energy work? Since we've heard from Tanys on that.
Yeah, mine's a little bit different in that I very much meet the client where they're at. So if they're coming to me just for therapy, I don't even bring up the energy work per se in that way, but I will bring it up in the way that I challenge their perception. And so, they might say, I'm feeling really overwhelmed because of this or that. And so I might ask them, do you tend to notice shifts when different people come or go? Oh yeah. Okay. So I'm not talking about energy. I'm just, what are you noticing? Right. And then we dive into it. And so there's a lot of ways that we can talk about energy without specifically going there for people who say, oh, no, that's not for me. But we do recognize sensitivity, and we do recognize that, I work a lot with people who are highly sensitive persons, HSP. And so we know that there is something going on there that causes us to be highly sensitive. And whether we recognize that from a spiritual perspective, that we're highly sensitive because we're multidimensional and we've got a lot going on, or we just realize that we're highly sensitive right now because we've got high sensitive sensory stimulation. And so, that's impacting us. Either way we look at it, no matter what words we use, we're still dealing with energy. Yeah. And so for me, that's how I operate through it, because if a client comes in and they say, oh, I don't believe in any of that woo-woo, which I have gotten. I'm like, cool, we don't have to do any of that. Me too. Mm-hmm. Right? But what's really fascinating too, even what Tanys had said about, this gentleman who was like, I don't know. But then afterwards, I've had clients where they've come in and they want, they're not spiritual at all. But by the end, they're like, I picked up this book and I started reading it, and it's very much a spiritual text, or, they're starting to look into these different things, because no matter where we're at, the moment that we begin to expand our awareness, we have to begin to realize that there's more, even if we don't know what that more is, right? But just that alone can aid us in our healing. And then depending on how much we're willing to dive into that determines how far we go.
Okay.
Well, we're both activators too. I mean, that's kind of our job. So I think both of us have had experiences like that, where it's like this person doesn't know anything about it, and we say a couple of words, next thing they're jumping into other stuff, Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's more of an energetic activation sometimes than it is even an educational kind of thing.
One thing, though, I do want to touch on, Jay, if it's okay for a moment, and this is a big piece that I found in the mental health field in general, and why I think it's so important, the work that I do. And, I even advertise I'm the Lightworkers Psychotherapist for a reason, because there are so many people in this world who are spiritually connected, who have had visions, have had experiences, right? I know you talk a lot about experiencers on your show, and they go somewhere and they're scared to even talk about it because they're worried that the practitioner is going to think that they're off their rocker. Mm-hmm. And so there isn't, as we were talking earlier, that safe space to explore it. And I've had clients come into me who have been hospitalized, who have been medicated, who have had all kinds of really horrific things happen to them because nobody was willing to actually sit in that space and go, yeah, that's an incredible experience. Right? And to actually sit there with them and validate it as an experience.
That's a powerful statement, though. Validation. It's not even, you don't even necessarily need to 100% know that it's true to validate someone's feelings on that, on their experience.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's beautiful. Now, can healing be permanent, though? This is for Tanys. Mm-hmm. Can healing be permanent if the root cause is karmic or multidimensional?
I would say yes.
Okay.
As a short answer, yes. It just means that we need to do a little bit more digging. Right? It's not like you're not going to just heal what's happening in this lifetime. That's only one layer. So it's getting into that multidimensional healing, like Jen was talking about, right? Going into the other dimensions, going into the other timelines, the other lifetimes, and dealing with those things. So for both of us, we do a fair bit of going into the other dimensions and the Akashic records and going back and going, oh, this is why that happened. Or, because it does come with us, right? We have 24 strands of DNA, 22 the medical community understands. The other 2 are soul DNA, and they travel with us from lifetime to lifetime. And, so there's an awful lot of information carried with us through that soul energy that permeates into our being. So we carry that stuff. And, I think that we're getting more knowledgeable as a human race. In understanding that there's that kind of continuance, but we certainly haven't been in past lives. So this is really kind of this time is very impactful, I guess we could say, because we're gaining this knowledge and we're able to go back and do so much healing. So this is a very impactful time with doing past life healings and ancestral healing and all of that, because we're actually able to understand that we do need to do that. Whereas before we would have just put it off as, personality stuff or, that kind of thing. So we just have to go deeper in our healing and do the work. Mm-hmm.
Okay. For Jennifer, notable energy patterns that have been emerging in recent years. Have you noticed anything different?
The energies.
You want to just talk about this week?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's really fascinating. So there's a couple layers to this question, Jay, and I think that it's important to kind of look at each one of them. So Tanys is referring to the Schumann and the fact that it has been off the charts with blackouts and all of that for an extended period of time. And, we have had incredible spikes happening recently, and there is an increase in those over the years. On top of that, each week when we do Twillow Talk, I talk about the transits. Now, yes, we do go through the transits every year. We follow the same pattern through them. But what I'm noticing is that people are more and more influenced by them. So we can get into neutrinos and what they are and all that kind of stuff if we want to deep dive into kind of like the sciencey side of things. But basically, the energy from the sun does impact us. The energy from the planets does impact us. And so where the transits are at any given moment, there's a specific energy associated with that, and that impacts us as a collective and individually. And what I've noticed is more and more the patterns of how much people are influenced by it. I will have a week of sessions and we're having similar conversations about similar issues. Things that I'm finding myself expressing in sessions have patterns to them based on the energy that we are in. And so what I'm finding is, as we're moving more and more towards this transition, energetically, this awareness state, right? Because we talk about 3D to 5D, it's really about our awareness, our consciousness expanding. As we're moving more towards that, the idea of the veils thinning is a big piece, because we're getting to a place now where we are feeling more into our other lifetimes, where we're feeling more into these other experiences, where we're connected more with extraterrestrial energies. There's a lot more influence there on us. And we're in a place where we're beginning to actually feel that within ourselves more and more. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I've noticed it though. It's like every single thing is now alien. If you say, that's an unknown rock, it's an alien rock in space, or it's an unknown satellite. No, it's an alien satellite. Everybody always adds that word in there. It's just unknown. I mean, yes, it's alien, but it's unknown to us.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's worth mentioning here too that a lot of the things that we experience with our ET brothers and sisters are like extra dimensional. So not necessarily visible or we can't necessarily see and hear them in the physical realm.
It's like a mirror.
But doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So just like when we have a dog whistle, right? And our hearing range is here and the dog whistle's out here, right? We don't hear the dog whistle because it's outside of our hearing range. A lot of these other extra dimensionals, it's the same thing. So our hearing range or visual range is here, and they're all out here. So unless we can actually learn to increase our awareness, that's the awareness that we're talking about, really, basically, increasing that awareness to understand that there is stuff that's out here that's not visible or we can't hear it necessarily with our human ears, doesn't mean that it's not there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the big the big stretch that I think people have some difficulty with when they're stepping into this kind of either the ET world or the spiritual world. It's the same kind of thing, right?
Yeah, it depends on like where I guess you are in your journey, if you would be more willing to accept it or not. And then if you didn't, it would be just, learning by actually having it happen to you.
Experiential learning.
Yes.
Which is what we're all here on Earth for anyway.
Yeah. I've been told that so many times that, this is just nothing. And I'm like, what are you talking about? This is just nothing. And they were like, no, it's not nothing. It's an experiential experience. And I said, what's an experiential experience? And they were telling me that you are experiencing it and you're just going to pass it along with your energy to the next lifetime, but you're still passing something along, some kind of energy information along next. And that's what pretty much they told me. And I was like, that seems about right. I mean, it does. You're limited. Like you said, your eyes, your ears are limited. Our brains are even limited. We only use 20% of it or whatever it is now. But we only use a certain percentage of it. We can't use 100%, or we'd know everything, or we'd be able to use it in a different way.
And our science is limited as well, right?
And
we're limited by that as well. So, when people say they can't measure this because our science doesn't have the tools, that's why we don't have the knowledge to create the tools to make it measurable in our place. So that's part of it. They're also yelling at me to confirm something from one of the other questions.
Yeah.
So when you asked me about whether healing is possible, we were specifically talking about one thing. And what I want to just reiterate is that we are here and we will be always doing our healing work. Because for me, healing is learning. And that's what we're here to do. And so we're always going to be doing healing work. It's not something that's like a one and done.
Well, yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure that was clear, because we had talked kind of like about past life stuff and all of that. But like the experiential stuff that you were talking about, how this is an experience. Experiences happen so that we can step into that learning, which is part of our healing journey and moving forward. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of
thank you for clarifying that. And anytime you need to jump in or they say something that didn't, make sense all the way, please. Now, I love this. So, Jennifer, Lyran Priestess Path and Celestial Guardians Memories.
Yes.
What can you tell us about it?
So this lifetime that we're talking about, so this is the lifetime that I wrote about in the Lyran Legacy. And this lifetime came through for me the very first time as a dream. And it came through in the midst of a dream that went through a whole bunch of the Akashics. And so I was able to see a ton of lifetimes. And this one in particular didn't stand out any more than any of the other ones at that moment.
Okay.
But this one kept coming back for me. So much so that I have a vivid recalling of this time from very young all the way through. And I remember being young and being in the temples and learning and being brought in to study as a priestess and to do the rituals and to be a part of the practices. I remember, you read it in the book, but I remember the tragedy that hit, that shifted that entire experience. But that was all preparation for what was to come. And I remember what it is to be a part of the Federation and to be on the Elders Council and to hold that space for wanting to bring the galaxy together in peace and in love, and to be able to facilitate the ending of a war that was going to rip our galaxy apart if it didn't end. And so that remembering is what you're talking about there, Jay.
Yeah.
That's
It's powerful. Ooh. It is. I read the book and it was really powerful. That's what got to me too when I was reading it. So, Tanys, discerning guidance from higher self versus galactic beings. How do you discern?
I get to know my guides, and so I feel the difference. Discernment is really about feeling into the heart and what does it feel like. And for me, if there's something that's not quite right, I'm going to feel it as like a in my stomach kind of thing is where I get it. So if it's something like my higher self is very different for me. I have a whole method that I go to my sanctuary and have a chat with my higher self if I need to do that. And that's, so for me, that's very different. In my sanctuary, which is a space in the astral that I go to that's safe, I can bring guides in specifically to speak with them there. But that it really depends. It's very fluid, right? That was like a beginner's kind of state for me. It's much more like multidimensional now. So, I've had ones that are making the effort to be more physical, and they're not totally physically visible here, but they are more present. Like when the praying mantis came to my backyard, I had like a delegate of 6 of them there. And I was just sitting, I just finished teaching a channeling class with some people, and we were chatting, and all of a sudden I hear in my head, because for me, it's a lot of it's telepathic. And so I hear, may I speak with you, please? And I'm like, okay. And I look around, and just outside the sunroom, there's this like 10 foot tall praying mantis standing there. And I'm like, okay, Archangel Michael, you're coming with me, right? Like, okay. Because I was like, he's tall and I don't know this one very well. So I step out and I'm like, hello. He says, we understand you are a Galactic Ambassador. I'm like, yeah, apparently so. I've been told so. Yes. He's like, very good. Would you please pass on the message that not all insectoids are nefarious? We are here for your ascension. I'm like, okay. As I'm looking up at this, he says, thank you. And he turns around and he waddles off to the back of the yard where there's 5 more standing at the back of my yard. And I'm going, and I'm sure my students were like, at the time, they're like, what is she doing? I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like I can hear them kind of in the background. And they're like, it's Tanys, it's okay. And so I come back in and I look at them and I'm like, okay, so do either of you see anything at the back of the yard? Well, one of them didn't see detail, but she could see energy system, like an energy blob, right? So she looks back and she goes, yeah, well, I don't see the detail, but it looks like there's 6 blobs back there. I'm like, perfect. Okay, thank you. So sometimes they can lower their vibration to be here in the physical when it's necessary. So for me, that was necessary that day because I had to have that kind of experience, and it was a strong message to come forward, right? Because that's always one of those big things: are they here for our betterment or not? Yes. And really, if they weren't, they're all around, so we wouldn't still be here if they weren't here for our support. Anyway, so that was one of my experiences. So sometimes it becomes a discernment, like, okay, I'm going to call in my protector to come and be with me while I decide how I feel about this particular energy. But then once you get to know them, for me, they each have their own frequencies. And so, for instance, Archangel Michael, when he comes in, I feel cold, and he often comes in on my right side. And that is to help me understand who it is that's coming in. So that's it. For me, it's a feeling as well as, I recognize their voice and how I feel in my body and how they look, of course, how they show themselves to me. Okay. So
yeah, mine was mostly mantis. Praying mantises were all around me all the time. Anytime, like even if my son got in trouble one time, and we had to go to school for a meeting to determine whether or not he was going to go to a technical school or stay at his school. And I said, oh, I hope this goes through okay. I was stressing so bad. I get to the school and I get to the buzzer where you have to push it to let get the camera in your face. And I'm going to push the button, and right next to the buzzer, on the cement, on the concrete where the bricks were, there's a praying mantis right next to it. I'm like, that's a good sign. Got out of there. My son got to his technical school. For the life of me, I went in there thinking he was going to get jumped on, because something happened at recess and all this happened and parents were called and this and that. And I'm like, oh my God, he's done. He's not going to be able to go to technical school. I get in there and they're like, oh, Mr. Albertson, it's perfectly fine. He can go to technical school and blah, blah, blah. And this other student, he's like this. And we dealt with him. And I'm like, what just happened? Like everything just turned around here in my favor for some reason.
They're great energy alchemizers, right? If there's a situation that feels off and you call them in, they can alchemize the energy. I could not get it for the
life of me. And it did. Like, it took me a while to get that, but it was like, and even a few weeks ago, I had a praying mantis that was stuck in between where my AC was, stuck in the window. And I was just like, I look out and I'm like, all right, got to rescue praying mantis. Go out, get the praying mantis, put it on the tree. Hopefully everything works out okay. But that's it. Praying mantises are around me a lot. I just don't know, but they are. But besides that, this is about you two.
Well, they're incredibly intelligent beings, right? So,
oh my gosh, they're very intelligent. Yeah. So, is the starseed activation a choice or a destined unfolding? And this would be for either one.
I'm going to say both.
Both. Yeah.
Yeah. So my views on predestination and free will and all of that maybe aren't quite the same as everybody else's, but I believe that when we choose to come down here, when we're kind of signing the contracts, that's where our free will plays in. We're looking at it. We're looking at the big picture. We're in a place where during that time, we're not caught up with the little mind, right? We don't have that, as you were saying earlier, just that, finite use. When we're doing that, have the big picture. We recognize that nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so. All of these experiences are for us. They're not being done to us. And so we decide all of these different experiences that we are going to go through because they're going to guide us in learning and growing and developing. When we get here, contract signed and done, we have lots of different ways that we can have those experiences, but we're going to have those experiences one way or another.
So it's like, there was one thing that I saw on a podcast, something about this the Indian tea leaf reading, where they take but it's not. This guy, I guess, is legitimate because there's a lot that's not out there. But they actually go to Tibet and go to the tea leaves and get your fingerprint, and they go way back. Is that also part of historical records that you can go through for yourself, to find out different past and future events? I guess I want to say
I
to find out about your ancient self.
Yeah, we have different methods of doing that. I think that's just one of the methods, because we don't all do the same thing to access that info. Sorry, go ahead, Jen. I just wanted to.
No, I'm saying I'm going to say the same thing.
Okay.
You think about all of the different religions in the world. You think about all of the different spiritual practices in the world. They're all different in the sense that they have different maybe rules, they have different practices, all of that. But when you really break it down, when you get into the mystical of them, you actually begin to see that they're much more interconnected than we realize. And so we can find that these pathways, even though they may look very unique and different, actually have the same foundation to them. Okay. And I know that there's people in different religions that are going to go, you can't say that. But it is true that if we really look at it, that's the case. And so there's different ways that we're going to go about learning, experiencing, tapping into all of that. And it's not that one way is necessarily right or wrong. We each have a way that's going to work for us. And so for someone, and Tanys and I have talked about this before, the way that we even see the Akashics is different. And so, some people talk about going into a library. Some people go into a temple. Some people have, all of these other processes. I see, a Rolodex, I go through it, and then I put it up on the movie screen, and then I'm watching what happened. Wow. Tanys, you've talked about your magazine rack.
Yes, it's kind of a funny rack.
Right?
But I just flip through and then all of a sudden I see stuff. So it's similar to Jen's, but I started also doing one where you go into a room and you immerse yourself into the experience by walking into the room. That's often what I do with my clients. It's a little easier than flipping through a rack and going, oh yeah, okay. So if you're just starting. So, but they're, like Jen was saying, they are all based in the same thing. It's all energy. Okay. And we just access it in different ways, right? Okay. So one big example of that in religion, almost all, I'm going to say almost all, of religion or spiritual practices, when you're doing sacred ceremonies of almost any kind, people will have the 4 elements and spirit involved. Okay. So you will find churches, synagogues, any spiritual sacred space, if they're doing ceremony, they're going to have something for earth, right? Often in church, for instance, you've got your altar is made of wood. They often will have incense for air, or they'll have pictures of or feathers, which are representative of air. They'll have water involved in a lot of different sacred practices, right? Baptism or all of those. And almost all have candle or some fire element. And really the essence of that, what it boils down to, is that the other dimensional frequencies actually pull on the energies of those elements in order to create a more palpable experience for us when we're in a sacred circle. And so that those kind of things are those mystical practices, right? They go across all sorts of traditions for a reason, because it works in that way. Okay. So that's just an example.
No, and just how we're all, so unique, the way that we're going to do things is going to have to be unique to us. Mm-hmm. Right. And so to your original question, about this whole starseed activation piece, we decided before we came if that was going to be a part of our journey or not. But how we get there and what activates us, those are the things that can ebb and flow. And because the mind likes to, categorize and put things in certain boxes and all of that, the path that we end up on is going to be unique to all of that makeup.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can which I know it can, but just to hear from, Tanys, crystal energies and aqua-led healing for emotional body. Can you explain that a little bit, Tanys?
So it's all the frequency stuff, right? So so aqua-lead is an energy healing modality. Okay. And what it does is heal the water within the body. So everything is frequency, just like the Emoto study, right? Masaru Emoto did the study about water and how thought can influence, prayer can influence the basic structure of the water itself. And so a lot of things that we do in healing practices is about changing internal structure through consciousness, through changing the vibrational frequency that we're looking at it with, or that we're giving it, in order to create that state of healing. So crystals have their own unique, they're very much based in sacred geometry, which is really a base of a lot of life here on Earth. And off Earth, actually, a lot of life is based off sacred geometry. And the aqua lead is one of those ones that's just going to go in and it's going to really heal the water in the body, and it actually is able to help heal the environment as well. So you can do water, aqua lead on bodies of water. If they're looking for, we've got a drought somewhere, we can put a team together and send aqua lead energy to that space in order to create a more conducive energy frequency in that space to bring the water. Things like Nukti, for instance, was a healing modality that was downloaded to me in 2019 from the Pleiadians. And it's basically, it goes in and reprograms the cytoplasm in the cells to release the frequency of grief, because we'll hold frequencies in our cells at a cellular level. I mean, that's the somatic stuff as well.
Yeah.
This is one of the galactic healings that has been sent down to us right now, so that we can start to work through some of this stuff, not just in this lifetime, but again, we can use it in the Akashic realm as well, pulling in this galactic healing into some of these past lives where we might not have been able to do that, because the Earth's frequency wasn't where it needed to be.
Okay.
And so that's why some of these new modalities are coming down now from the galactics. They're starting to trickle them in a way that allows people to accept it at the frequencies that they're at, right?
Okay.
So, we're using things. I just finished my first group of Galactic Shaman in a Galactic Shaman program. And we taught a whole bunch of galactic healing modalities in there. There was the Nukti, even Aqualead is an Andromedan healing that was channeled by Sabine Blay. And so there's those. There's Nagara, which came down. I think that was like last year. That came down with another student of mine as well, and we were channeling it, and we're like, I don't know what this is, but it just feels different. We know it's different, and then we tap in and we get all the information about it. So that one's Nagara, and that's really about helping support us with our shadow work as well. So it's all frequency, and all the crystals just help support those frequencies with their strong crystalline structures. They help to support our crystalline structures, right? We're going from carbon-based to silica-based, which is crystalline. And so in doing so, the crystals become more and more of a helper with our frequencies and keeping them.
It's like a tuning fork.
Yeah. Sound healing's a great tool as well. I do some of that too. It all blends together, right? To create the perfect thing for whoever is in my session. So I get told, I'm sure you're like this too, Jen. Okay, do this with them, do that with them, do that. And so I just do what I'm told. That's what I always say. I just do what I'm told. I've been handed down all these like different healing modalities, and really it just comes down to, okay, use this tuning fork here. But it's they work with us really closely to be able to facilitate our healing, because that's what they want for us. Is for us to be able to ascend and become part of the galactic community. So in Jen's book, I was also Teriel, and so I have memories as well from that lifetime, and that's one of the lifetimes where Jen and I created really strong bonds. So we've been in many lifetimes together, and the funny part about that one is that she was mentioning earlier how we're so tuned in, and there's a lot of crossover, and in that lifetime, we were really alchemizing energy in the whole galaxy in order to create this more loving universe, right? So we're kind of doing it on a planetary level here, and she and I have a soul contract to help support that and be here. And we were both involved in the Galactic Federation in that lifetime. And so I think we have been since we've been here. We just sort of have both tuned into it and realized, oh, we're actually really doing like an active role.
Yeah.
So we're becoming like that bridge, right, between galactic stuff and here. So I don't know why they wanted me to say that, but they did. They were channeling.
Hey, that's fine with me. With Jennifer, most misunderstood aspect of shadow work.
I think the most misunderstood aspect of shadow work for me is that it's bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
We think of our shadow and we immediately associate shadow with dark, not recognizing that dark is absence of light. Shadow shows up because of the light. We wouldn't have a shadow if we didn't have light. And so when it comes to shadow and shadow work, the shadow is about embracing the parts of us that are actually our genius. But we look at the shadow and we go, oh no, I'm too afraid of that. I don't want to look at that. I don't want to look at my monsters, right? Is how we perceive it. And that is such an error in terms of looking at the shadow work, because our shadow shows us where our wounding is, but it also shows us where our healing is. Our shadow helps us to understand where we have had the opportunity to move through something and to potentially overcome that. That's why it's also our genius. It's our ability to go, yeah, I get how hard that is. And I also know that you can come through it. And that not only can you come through it, but that can help strengthen you in your journey. And so for me, when I look at shadow work and I have people talk about it and they go, you know, what is this actually? Or people talk about being afraid of their shadow. I think that that's the biggest kind of misconception of shadow out there, is that it's somehow a negative aspect of ourselves. Okay. But it's not a negative. It is an opportunity.
Opportunity to see and to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, we often see emotions. I mean, Jen and I have talked about this a lot, is that we see emotions as good or bad.
Yeah.
But they're just energy that we need to move through. And so we have to allow ourselves to experience it in order to move through it. And, you know, that's the shadow work is really stepping into that and allowing ourselves, because, you know, so many times we push it down, or we get our little process of expressing our emotion gets stopped and we don't get right through it or whatever, because we're not supposed to cry in this moment, or we're not supposed to be angry, or whatever it is. It's just an emotion. Like, it's just the energy, and it's messy and uncomfortable sometimes, you know, if you're going through it, but it's so rewarding at the end. I mean, you think about how cathartic it is when you have a really good cry over something, and that's just you processing the energy that's related to it.
Yeah, you talk about cry, and I was going to go right into, you know, how there are times where we can have those really deep, gut-wrenching cries. And afterwards, it's like, okay, I'm drained, but I feel better. I feel like I've released it. And I even have a little bit of energy now that I didn't maybe have before.
Yeah.
Now think about those times where you have that gut hurts rolling over, tears in my eyes, laughter.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're two sides of the same coin. Right?
True.
But we've decided that this one is bad and that this one is good. Therefore, I don't want this one. And there's resistance to it. And this one is the one I want. So now there's longing to it. So now we've just attached suffering to both.
Yeah.
I got it now. I got it. So let's go with Tanys.
Mm-hmm.
Humanity's spiritual evolution in the next 10 years. What do you think we're going towards?
Ooh, that's a big question. How long have we got for this? All right. I think that we're headed towards more love.
Okay.
Really. I think, you know, I had a big download not long ago about lead with love and let love lead you. So book in the progress. But this was a whole message about how we can't sit in the fear that we've been in. We have to move forward in love, because our bodies can't manage the fear the same way we manage love. We can have tons of love and not have it be too much, right? We have too much fear or too much stress, which is another word we use for it, and our bodies can't manage it, right? We go into burnout, we have crisis, because our body is in too much fear. We end up with health related things because we're carrying too much of that fear emotion within the body, and it carries a certain denser energy than love, which is a very high vibration emotion. They both have their place, though. So I'm not saying that we should not feel fear, because there are times when we need to feel fear, right? Yeah. I'm going to get hit by a truck. I need to get out of the way. I hope my body tells me fear, right? So they're that signpost that creates action. And so the fear is just part of that. However, we have a lot where we've just been programmed to think something is bad. And we could approach it from a different way, or look at it through a lens of love and compassion. And so the way that the vibration is rising in our consciousness at this time is creating the opportunity for us to look at things through that lens, the lens of love, the lens of compassion. And Jen and I talk about the whole separation versus oneness thing. Right now, we're in a time where we're so like us and them, that the unity thing is where we need to focus. Okay. So there's a couple of concepts, I think, for humanity going forward. One is love, and the other one is unity. And compassion goes hand in hand with that. So we don't know what somebody else has gone through. So for us to judge someone else, I mean, this is a concept that's been, of course, around for eons.
Millions of years.
Of course, but we're slow learners here on Earth, apparently. So we need to really get that message out there, that is the way to go. And that's, if we can go and be more compassionate for each other, then we won't have as much fear. Because if we know if we're going to be met with compassion, then we don't need to have the fear of being judged, which is a huge one, right? You look at cancel culture on social media. It's a big part right there. So the more we can have compassion for other people, and you know what? We are all human. We all screw up. Because if we didn't screw up, we wouldn't learn, right? The whole download that came down to me was like, you guys, you're kids, and you fall every time you're trying to learn how to walk. Like, that's just part of it. But when we're adults, we seem to think that we should be able to, learn something like that and not have any mistakes while we're learning. Well, our whole life is a learning experience. We talked about that earlier. Yeah. So as we step into that learning experience, we need to have compassion for those times when we fall. And that is part of what is going to help drive us to be more united. And humanity needs to be united. Not just with humanity itself, but with our galactic brothers and sisters as well. Yeah. But that unity concept and having love and compassion for other beings, no matter who they are, that is where we need to go. I think it's going to take us, realistically, I think it's going to take us a bit of time to get there. But we have seen so many amazing, amazing jumps in our consciousness in the last, 5 years, that in the next 10, can you imagine? Because they're not just incremental, they're multiplied, right? So I have a lot of hope for humanity going forward. I think that we're going to really make some changes. It's going to be uncomfortable and messy, kind of like the shadow work, right? To get there, because we're programmed to think certain things. So it's really about unlearning a lot of the programs that we've had and stepping into these new ways of looking at it. These new ways of being, the new ways of collaborating. So collaboration is key. They keep saying this to me like all the time. I don't know how many times I've said it, almost every show, I think. Collaboration is key, because that is a key component of oneness, of
Mhm.
being one. Because what I do to somebody else, I'm doing to myself.
Yeah.
Because we are all connected.
True.
We are all of source, and source is of us. And in doing something to somebody else, I'm doing that to me.
Mhm.
But there's so many people that their negative self-talk is just as bad as what they're doing to other people, sometimes worse. You know, I've had friends say to me, "Oh, I'm so stupid," or whatever. And I'm like, "Don't talk to my friend that way." They're like, "What?" Because they don't realize it.
Yeah.
Because we've been programmed to think that it's okay to do that to ourselves.
True. Yeah.
But you wouldn't talk to a friend that way.
Hmm.
So it's that kind of reprogramming that has to happen with humanity.
Okay.
In order for us to really advance. I'm sure you have some stuff to add to that too, Jenny.
Well, and it's interesting. I mean, there's so many levels and layers to what you're sharing, Tanys, because there's an important, piece that runs through all of this that goes back to even just the previous topic that we were talking about, that, we think certain things are good and other things are bad. And so if these things happen, that's good. If these things happen, that's bad. Sometimes things have to break down in order for change to happen. And so we can have these hopes, as Tanys is talking about, but that doesn't mean everything is rainbows and lollipops, right? It means that there's going to have to be some of those really difficult experiences that are going to bring us to where we need to be, right? And when we talk about unity and that need for unity, the way that we're going to actually get there is for people to realize how not unified we are.
Yeah.
Which means that there may be something that has to happen to get us to understand that, so that we can then show up differently. Right. So there's, yes, there's a lot of hope for humanity. And yes, we are moving towards all of that. At the same time, it's not until we can go back and do that shadow work, sit with those harder parts of ourselves, allow that denser energy to be a part of us and harmonize it with the higher energies, that we're going to be able to actually begin to make those shifts and changes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're doing it on an individual level, as well as society, as well as planetary, as well as galactic, right? All of these shifts.
And it goes on and up and up and up and up, and it goes down and down and down. It's like it's two-sided pyramid. Yep.
As above, so below.
Yeah. Now this is for Jennifer. Is Earth consciously working with us as a living environmental entity?
Is Earth conscious? Yes. Is Earth conscious as an environmental entity? Yes. Is Earth working with us? I think the better question is, are we working with her?
No.
And that's a no.
Yeah.
Right? As a human race, I think there are definitely people who want to and that are working towards that. But as a whole, we are not working with her. We are taking advantage of her. And so this question of, is she working with us? She has given us everything we need to work with her.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really where that focus needs to go. She's there. She's doing her thing. She's an ancient sentient being that understands way more than we as a human race ever could. And she's given us all of it. She has allowed us to connect to her crystalline grid. She has allowed us to tap into her resources. She has allowed us to live on her, in her. We have been able to do so much, but we aren't honoring her.
Well, it's like I was going to say, like this week or last week, I heard that the hurricane scale is now going up to a 6. Like that has never changed in 150 years. And now all of a sudden we have a 6 on the scale. And I'm like, wait a minute, how fast is that? And they're like, oh, that's 300 and something miles an hour. I'm like, oh, that's like double what the 5 is. I'm like, oh my God. Like Never had that before. That is the change that's happening.
Mhm.
Like the cry out to stop what we're doing.
Yeah. And I know people will say, you know, Gaia is going to act out and destroy us. That's not how it works, right? She has a system in place, and that's how she operates.
It's a
And if
process.
we're being really honest, like the human race has been here many times before and has been annihilated many times before.
Yeah.
And we're just not learning.
That's not to say that we will be annihilated again. I think, you know, my opinion is that we won't be this time, but that's just me. I could be wrong.
I've got a more positive. I'm hoping that we won't. So both of you, if you would like to answer this, whoever first, the role of divine feminine leaders in the coming shift.
We were just talking about this. Actually.
Yes, we
One of
were.
our classes, we had a big discussion about this.
Mhm.
You go ahead, Jen. I'll just add.
Yeah, actually, we were. It's our spiritual warriorship class with the Peacekeepers of the Light, and we were talking about the divine feminine and the power of the divine feminine and how we need to be able to move back to that. And so, because the world has kind of taken divine right out of feminine and masculine. See, I'm putting them together, feminine.
I like it. Let's do it. It's balanced.
It's in the proper order too.
Sorry, Jay.
Oh, you're good.
No, sorry. We all have both, right? We
do.
all are meant to have an equal balance of the divine feminine and the divine masculine within us. And yet, because society as a whole, and I say society, like the world, has taken divine away from that. And now we've got this huge separation between masculine and feminine. And, you know, there's a lot of movement in the world now to kind of say, hey, can we just get rid of these gender normative things anyway? Toss them right out the window. And I think that that's beautiful because it's allowing us to shift back and bring the divine back into the energies. Because now if we can be in a place where we're allowing both to be within us, we can embrace the qualities of both.
Yeah.
And that, you know, again, we're talking about, you know, the removal of the divine has brought in, you know, these different kind of, you think about like the spectrum of things, instead of being in this beautiful balance where we ebb and flow within the energies, we end up polarized.
Yeah.
And so we're not in a place where we're even healthily in our masculine and feminine, right? We're very unhealthy in these roles because we don't understand what it is to embrace them together. And so I think that this shift towards understanding and embracing the divine feminine again is really about bringing us back into that balance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And that's part of the humanity change, right? Because the more we're balanced in both, the more we're going to have that we'll be able to be less polarized, more oneness that we'll have.
Yeah.
The more we'll be able to meet in the middle on things, you know? So I think that it's been very over the years, and it's society and it's the systems that were brought into place years and years ago, and it has really emphasized the masculine energies being positive. And I don't mean men, I mean masculine energies being positive, and that women, the female energies are you know, that's evident in some of the stories we've talked about even. Right?
Yeah.
Those gender-based roles and how there's more spirituality among females historically.
Yeah.
I think that is shifting. You're seeing that becoming more balanced. You're seeing it becoming more balanced, and women becoming more into their masculine, just as men are becoming more into their feminine energies and becoming more nurturing in that than what they were before. So it's that part has been a beautiful transition, I think, for us. It's still got a ways to go, but it's certainly one that I've seen some movement forward with.
Yeah, most definitely. I've seen that as well. Now, let's go into your favorite energy clearing method. Whoever wants to take it.
For what? Would be my question.
For past trauma.
Okay.
Like past trauma work.
Well, for me, it would be the Nukti, because it's designed specifically to do that. I think that there's yoga practices as well. So, the yoga instructor thing too. So when we bring in some of the yogic practices, you're bringing in the breathing and, the meditative parts of that. I think in terms of energy work for others, I would say the Nukti, right? When I do it on somebody else, it would be Nukti. I mean, I do that for myself as well. But in terms of overall kind of energy clearing, things like smudging and sage and all of that is great. But I think if you're talking trauma, you're needing to get deeper. So doing things like the past life healing, using different energy techniques, doing somatic stuff or like yogic practices to really pull the stuff that we've pushed down up. I think those are really advantageous. And probably some of my favorites. Personally, as well as what I use for clients. Yeah.
Awesome. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Oh, I was just going to say, I second pretty much everything that Tanys had shared there. From just, from a therapy standpoint, tools like EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, or OEI, observed and experiential integration, where we actually work on the pathways that we've stored that trauma, can be very powerful in helping us to, as I say, go into the file room and start to put the traumatic files away so that they're not sitting out and impacting every moment of every day. So if you're, doing that alongside of the energy work and the clearing and, bringing in some of the Nukti energy to be able to clear it on a cellular level, bringing in that somatic experiencing, as Tanys said, I think that these are tools that really do, when they're combined, truly embrace mind, body, spirit, holistic healing.
And that, I think, is something that is worth noting as well. Like whenever you're dealing with any problem, we really need to have components of all three, right? The mind, body, and spirit involved. So for practitioners too, right? There's ones that focus in each of them, but there's crossover for all of it in that center. If you see like the Venn diagram, right? You got your one circle for physical, one circle for mental emotional, and the other one for spiritual / energetic. Yeah. And, you really need to sort of go at issues or past trauma or whatever with components from each to get that really holistic, well-balanced
that
work
360
done.
Healing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's wonderful to know. So let's go with message to starseeds out there. If whoever wants to go first, any message that you had for starseeds out there, and maybe one truth that everyone should know about the soul.
Ooh. Well, that's an easy one. Soul is infinite. That's one truth you need to know.
All right.
Sorry, go ahead, Jen. You were gonna channel.
No,
go ahead.
That's okay. If you're going, I'll go after you.
It's okay. I just needed to get that out right away.
It's interesting because you say like message for starseeds out there, and truly, we all come from the stars. Mm-hmm. We all are going to return to the stars. Our soul is infinitely connected to the stars because we are made of stardust. This is who and what we are. And the more that we open to that and understand that, the more unified we're going to be, and the more love is going to be able to come through us. Truly, everyone is a starseed, and the message is for every soul out there to know that you are unique and special and wonderful, and yet you are part of the whole. And so whatever you do, as Tana said earlier, you do to everyone else, you do to yourself, we do to each other, because we are truly one. And the one thing to know about the soul is that that is the piece that we carry with us through every lifetime, through every experience, no matter what it is we're going through. And that is the part of us that is connected to that one energy.
That was powerful. I'm taking that in.
She does that.
Yeah, she does do that. So how about a new spiritual tool that you like to use now? Any new spiritual tools?
Well, it depends. I guess defining new would be because all the tools are really, they've always been around,
Well,
right?
yeah, I
We're
guess
just tapping into them.
I guess
So-
new to you.
New to me.
Yes.
Well, the yoga thing is pretty new to me.
Okay.
Personally, that's a new thing for me.
Yeah, I haven't tried that either.
I did my yoga instructor training last year, and so that's a fairly new one. Well, and the Nagara and the Nukti, those are both newer.
Okay.
Healing thing. I can't say Nukti is new now, really, since 2019. That's kind of yeah, it's old news now. But the Nagara is pretty new.
Yeah.
And we got some Venus energy healing techniques come in during the galactic stuff. So there's some beautiful symbols and frequencies that came in with the Venus healing.
Okay.
So those are cool. Yeah.
Awesome. Jennifer, same question. Anything new?
It's so interesting. Again, we say past lives, parallel lives, whatever it is. But these are ancient practices that aren't even new to me, but they are new to me in this experience.
Relearning.
It's a remembering.
Remembering. Okay.
Yeah. We are, awakening to these things that are buried deep within us, and being able to connect to them. And so when we talk about, practices or things that are coming forward, some of the rituals, some of the things that I talk about in the book they're brand new for me now. And yet I remember doing them. I remember having these ceremonies and how incredibly enriching they were to our souls and to our bodies and everything. And so being reintroduced to them through this process has truly reawakened these things within me. And so, yes, as Tana said, even though they are ancient, they are new again for me. And I'm so grateful to be able to have
That's amazing.
access to that.
Well, and these are healings that are coming down. We don't think of them traditionally as healings, but these stories that come down through, the hundreds of channelers out there, and they all have healing within them. They carry healing codes. We bring healing codes down.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would say another one that's a big one that's fairly new for me too. Fairly new. It's certainly become more prominent is the light language.
Okay.
That has been really active for me lately, and light language is basically an energetic language. So you wouldn't necessarily understand it in terms of with your brain. It's really your body understands what's coming in and how it feels with that.
Okay.
So and it can be written, it can be verbal, even like hand symbols and whatnot that come down. Those are also a remembering of sorts.
Okay.
that comes in, and we will channel those. I mean, that's something that Jen and I have both done channeling work with light language, and the celestial celestial guardians that are out there come in and chat and all of that stuff. And
That's
so
awesome.
those are all healings too.
Well, and it's interesting too, because you're talking about the practices, and I've alluded to it in some of the shows and stuff that we've talked about, but with the book came through the compendium, and the compendium is going to be the cosmic compass. It's like rituals, it's practices. And so I actually, when it's ready, it's getting there, it's almost there. But it's going to have sacred practices from that lifetime, meditations, and how to tap into and trust our inner compass, how to, crystalline temple gatherings, what that was like, working with harmonic resonance and sound, bringing in the energy work, visualizations, nature, all of the things that, we know are powerful, but we don't always understand why or the importance of connecting with them. That's all in there. Even, to Tanys talking about the light language, songs came through. So I have Harmonies of the Cosmos, which is a celestial songbook of songs that were parts of rituals and things that we had done in that lifetime that are still coming through for us today, because they're going to help us on our journey as we continue to, tap into who we really are.
And we both have memories of a lot of those ritual experiences, and just talking about them like this, I have a heart opening, and so that's just how powerful they are, right? You feel them so deeply, and that's part of that was part of how Jen and I really connected in that lifetime as well, was through those types of rituals, and being in a learning space with the Celestial Academy. We were in the Celestial Academy in that time together, and so we really grew up with these ritual practices being a big part of our lives. Our parents were very much ritual masters as well, and healers, and that was just the way of life. So it's beautiful that we're being able to bring these back in the way that we need to for today, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Most definitely. We like that's everybody needs to hear this and listen into this. It's very good information, and it connects with each and every one of us. So where any upcoming events for either one of you, and final encouragement for those who are feeling lost out there?
Okay. Well, what have we got coming up, Jen? I'm pulling up the calendar.
Yeah.
Well, normally we have Twillow Talk live every Monday at 5:00 Eastern. We put on an amazing interview that we had done with Lara Atwood, who talks about the religion of the sun in place of that for today. And so that's a great one to just go check out. The information in that, and the conversation is beautiful. But join us, like I said, live at 5, or just whenever you can, and leave some comments, because we do have authentic spiritual conversations about all of these things. So if you're feeling really lost on your journey, or you're not sure, where to go or where to find that safe space, or how to connect with community, Jay, your show is incredible for that, for community and bringing people together. Sure. And that's really the goal of ours as well. And so we do that. And then once a month, we do a support group with Beyond Being Human, and that's live on Facebook.
Not on Facebook, on Zoom. So it's not recorded. It's because we talk very candidly. So we don't record these or anything, because it is in the essence of supportive for people. So
That's the same thing. If somebody came to me, I wouldn't record it. It would be just one-on-one, or we'd have a group. I actually started a Discord channel for Galactic Family Podcast just for that reason. So that people can come in, tell their story without being judged, no judgment, no hate, no nothing. That people will start to understand these stories aren't just stories, that they are memories of our past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, indeed.
Absolutely. And
we both do other podcasts as well for Beyond Being Human. So you do For the Love of Mystics, right?
Yeah.
And I do explorations for Beyond Being Human. So those are also other ones that we do. Bridge to the Galaxy for the Alliance for Extraterrestrial Diplomatic Contact. So those come out periodically. Been a bit on hiatus for that over the summer, but we'll be getting back into that. And what else do we have going on? We have a new Galactic Shaman program starting.
Wonderful.
Second week of September. So if anyone's interested in that, we just did an intro session. But if you missed that and you'd like more information, just reach out. That's coming up. Jen and I are working on all sorts of other projects that are coming, but they're, to be announced.
Yes.
We're working on a second year of the Galactic Shaman program because the first years wanted more, which was great. So we're working on a second year to really enrich that. And
enforcement of what was taught in the first.
Yeah, well, it's, you can't teach everything. There's so much to learn.
Oh, yeah.
So we're just going to build on what was already
just building up the pyramid.
Done. Mm-hmm. It's kind of what happened with my Celtic Shamanic program as well. I started 1 year and they were like, no, we want more. And now we're up to fourth year students. So it's great when they can start to really get into the meat of everything, right? Get really deep into things. And so those are things that we're working on, and some spiritual business training. We're looking at bringing some of that out because, Twillow Lifestyle's been around almost 10 years now. And Jen, yours is probably 8 or so anyway, right? At least.
I first opened my holistic self in 2015.
Oh, yeah. So you're at 10 too. So we're both like 10-year business veterans now. So we're working on putting that stuff into a class to help people bring spiritual. And for me, there's going to be rituals that we'll be bringing in at different times, like during your planning. What kind of ritual can you bring in to create the energies that you want to create to bring forward to your business, that sort of thing. That's what's going to make it different from other kind of business planning things.
That's wonderful. Well, it was lovely having both of you on. I'm guessing that we don't have any questions, but I will leave it on for a minute or two left. Before, if anybody has any questions for the guests. If not, then I will just talk for a second here. I started actually the Discord page also because I was like, okay, I'm going to be live, but I don't want people to feel like that they're on the screen, they're live, that's not what I'm trying to get out of this. I'm trying to get them to heal, whatever they're going through. So that's why I started the Discord channel. That way, if anybody wanted to go in there, they could say their stories and everything without judgment or, any hate or anything like that. It's more of a peaceful attitude that I want with everyone in my community. Same with what you're doing as well. And my hat's off to you. And I hope it continues to grow and continues to be a big success.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We wish the same for you. Thank you. It was an honor being asked.
Thank you, ma'am.
It's always a pleasure.
Oh, same with you, ma'am. Thank you, girls, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us on and sharing this beautiful conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Anytime you guys want to come back on, you let me know and we'll set it up.
You're on.
Amazing.
All right.
Awesome.
All right. Have a nice day, ladies.
You too. Thank you.
So that was Tanys and Jennifer. Their links will be in the description for all of their pages, websites, and anything you might need along the way. you can contact them. They're both wonderful people. They're not going to treat you the wrong way. They listen. They're what this community is building to. We are building our own community as well. That you will be able to speak your mind without any hate or anything coming your way. And that's the way this community and all communities should be. And it's the same thing. Like I say, every single session here, it's not, and she actually brought up a good point, Jennifer and Tanys brought up a good point, male and female, feminine and masculinity. But in this podcast, it's not about feminine or masculinity. We go with, we are all humans. We are all humans. We are one species. Everybody here is that. That's my quote. We humans are all one species, born of Earth, to spread peace, love, and understanding throughout the universe. And we're going to do that, just one step at a time. And I hope you guys continue to come along for the ride. We are getting up there. We have almost 500 subscribers. Thank you. It helps. And we're going to be doing a lot more things once we hit that 500 subscriber mark. You just have no idea how many plans I have in my head. When we can actually monetize this site, it'll be, I'm not keeping any of this money. Any money that comes into the podcast is being donated out to either animal shelters in need for winter. We're going to be doing animal drives. We're also going to be doing children's toy drives for Christmas. So stay tuned. There's a lot coming up, and 500, we're getting there. We're almost there. As soon as we hit that mark, we can start doing things as a community to build this better. Thank you for being here, Galactic Family. And as always, have a great night.